the night of May 14th, 2008, a seemingly ordinary drive transformed into an unfathomable mystery. This is the story of Brandon Swanson, a young man who vanished without a trace after crashing his car, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a family's enduring search for answers. Welcome back to the Spooky Spot. I'm Isabella, and tonight we will be discussing a case that has baffled investigators for over a decade. The disappearance of Brandon Swanson, a young man, a late-night drive, and a phone call that ended in silence. Brandon Swanson was a 19-year-old student at Minnesota West Community and Technical College. Brandon was described by friends and family as responsible, level-headed, and someone who always looked out for others. Brandon was very close to his family, and he had a bright future ahead of him. On that fateful night, Brandon was driving home from a party in Canby, Minnesota, which was about an hour away from his home in Porter. He'd been at a gathering with friends celebrating the end of the school year. Brandon had a few drinks, but his friends wouldn't have described him as overly intoxicated. At around 1:30 a.m., Brandon called his parents frantic. He had driven his car into a ditch, and his car had been immobilized. Brandon wasn't hurt, but he did need a ride. While on the phone, Brandon told his parents that he was only 10 minutes away from home. Brandon's parents got in their car and quickly drove to the location where they thought Brandon had wrecked, but saw no sign of Brandon or his car. Brandon's father told him to put the hazard lights on in the car so it would be easier for him to find Brandon, but after a few frustrating minutes and not being able to determine the correct location, Brandon finally gave up and said that he was going to walk to his friend's house in the nearby town of Lind. And this is where the story starts to take a truly bizarre turn. During the phone call, Brandon became somewhat disoriented, and he told his father that he saw a bright light in the distance, and he decided to walk towards it because he thought that it was the porch light of his parents' house. Brandon's father stayed on the phone with him, trying to guide him home. 47 minutes into the phone call, Brandon yelled, "Oh shit," and the line went dead. His parents tried to call him back several times, but Brandon never answered. At 6:30 that same morning, Brandon's parents reported him missing, but they were told that the young man had a right to go missing. Brandon's parents knew that this was not something that their child would do, so they pushed the matter. Brandon's cell phone records were obtained, and it was determined that Brandon had made the phone call to his parents from Taunton, which was about 25 miles away from the town of Lind. The police searched this area and found Brandon's car in a ditch off of a gravel road. All of the car's doors were open, but the keys were missing. Brandon's glasses were left behind in the car, which is highly unusual considering the fact that he was legally blind in one eye. The circumstances surrounding Brandon's disappearance are incredibly perplexing, and the fact that he vanished without a trace is highly unusual. Now we will go over the top 3 theories in this case. The first theory is that Brandon became lost and succumbed to the elements, which I don't think that theory holds much credibility considering the fact that extensive searches for Brandon were held and nothing ever turned up. The temperature was below 40 degrees that night, so I guess it could be a possibility, but at the same time, nothing ever turned up during these searches. The second theory is that Brandon fell into the Yellow Medicine River, which is near where his car was found. This theory does seem a little more plausible because this river is 107 miles long and it gets as deep as 250 feet in some areas. But a team of bloodhounds would follow Brandon's scent for 3 miles. They followed Brandon's scent through the Yellow Medicine River, across to the other side, up the riverbank, and onto another gravel road. Which this leads me to believe that Brandon did not drown. The sheriff involved in the case even walked the 2 miles of the Yellow Medicine River every single day for 30 days after Brandon's disappearance. And the third and final theory is foul play. The FBI has placed Brandon on their missing persons list, which is typically something they only do if foul play is suspected. The bloodhounds did pick up the scent of human remains a couple of times during the searches, but nothing ever came of this. The search dogs would also find Brandon's scent on a piece of farm equipment, but the farmer who owned the equipment refused a search of his property. Brandon's family has never given up hope. They continue to search for answers and keep his memory alive. Brandon's family has advocated for changes in the missing persons protocols and have also been vocal advocates of families facing similar situations. Through their hard work, we now have Brandon's Law, which requires missing persons reports to be taken without delay. Brandon's family has even left their porch light on every single night for more than 16 years, hoping that one day Brandon will return home. The disappearance of Brandon Swanson remains one of Minnesota's most baffling unsolved mysteries. So what do you think happened to Brandon Swanson? Hypothermia? Drowning? Foul play? Or could he still be out there somewhere? Let us know your thoughts and theories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.